Thank you, everyone. Before I begin, I want to address what happened yesterday. It certainly was a dark day for our democracy. We watched in horror as mobs stormed the United States Capitol, leaving a trail of chaos and destruction. That was not a protest, it was an insurrection. While rioters were breaking windows, Congress was carrying out one of the most sacred actions of our democracy, certifying the presidential election results. To witness this type of violence and aggression in response to a fair and legitimate election results certainly was sickening for a lot of us watching yesterday on TV here in the United States and around the world. But in many ways, it certainly was not unexpected. Over the past 4 years, we've seen this anger and hatred heading towards a boiling point in our country. As President-elect Biden said, the events of the Capitol showed the words of the president does matter. We saw President Trump continue using those words to fan the flames of unrest, behavior he has incited through lies and misinformation his entire presidency. He has proven once again to be incapable of the leadership and the responsibilities of the presidency of the United States of America. The violence in our country and the violence around this election needs to stop. People are hurting. We need to stop playing with their emotions. 4 people yesterday lost their life during the violence at the United States Capitol. Every act of violence sends ripples of hatred and trauma throughout communities all across our country, and that is unacceptable. My heart and our hearts go out to every single person affected by yesterday's events, the staff and the elected officials who feared their life, law enforcement and first responders who worked to resolve the situation as quickly as possible, the brave reporters who were on the scene keeping us informed throughout the days. In Boston, we stand united in denouncing this violence. Myself and the City Council yesterday put out a joint statement denouncing the violence that was going on in Washington. And we asked everyone to choose peace over violence, that we must be better than this. Yesterday's violence represents an awful start to the new year here in 2021. But 2021 still can be and should be a time for healing. It can and still will be a time for hope. We have a new administration in less than 2 weeks coming into the White House, one that's committed to a strong recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. More and more people are getting vaccinated. Every day, the light at the end of the tunnel gets bigger and brighter. In Boston, we continue to look out for every single resident in our city, working to ensure that every Bostonian has food on their table, a roof over their head, and resources that they need to keep their businesses afloat. We are going to continue to be laser focused on our work to build up equity, eliminate disparities, and root out systemic racism once and for all. We do have a lot of work to do. We have healing here in Boston and across our nation. We must protect our democracy, the greatest democracy in the world. We must choose unity over division. These sides and divisions need to stop. We must build bridges, not tear bridges down. We need to continue to work together. And that's how we'll get through these difficult times together in a stronger outcome for our country, for our state, for our city here in Boston. I ask everyone to join us all to do this, to continue to move aside. Let's move forward. With all of yesterday's news coming out of Washington, we had 6,419 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. 99 people lost their life yesterday in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts due to COVID-19. 643 of those were from Boston. 5 of those deaths were from Boston. As I've said since the beginning of the pandemic, our hearts and prayers go out to all of the people and the families that have lost loved ones during this pandemic. Our prayers go out to the people sick and suffering from this virus. Our prayers go out to the 4 people who lost their families who lost their life yesterday at the United States Capitol. Our prayers should go out for the entire country that we have peace moving forward. I gave the latest data trends on Tuesday, but I want to just reiterate the numbers continue to grow in the wrong direction here in Boston when it comes to coronavirus. Our cases are concerning. Yesterday's cases were the highest one-day case since the spring. Our hospitalization numbers are getting high as well, higher than we'd like them to be. 93% of all adult non-surge ICU beds are occupied, the highest we've seen since May. We're in constant contact with our local hospitals. As a matter of fact, I think I have a call later on today with our hospitals to talk about where they are and what they need from us. We need everyone to continue to do your part. We can't say it, and I can't say it enough. The majority of us have not been vaccinated yet. Wearing a mask, physical social distancing, washing hands, avoiding gatherings, getting tested, all remain essential to preventing the spread of this virus. I know that many of us are tired of me saying it and tired of hearing me saying it, and we're tired of the protocols. But every time you do these things, we're saving lives. We will beat this thing. We just need to continue to work together. We continue to encourage everyone to get tested, especially if you traveled for the holidays, if you feel that you've been exposed, or you haven't been tested in a while. We're asking people to get tested. Testing is the best tool that we have to stop the spread of the virus and protect communities, because it helps us to be able to see what we need to do in notifying, alerting people of what they have to do to take care of themselves. Again, we're asking everyone, if you can, if you haven't made a New Year's resolution, make a New Year's resolution to get tested. Get tested once a week. We have 30 testing sites in the city, including 3 mobile sites that are open and free to all, regardless of symptoms. Those sites are in Jamaica Plain, Roxbury, and Hyde Park, and the Harvard Street test site at Prince Hall is open as well. For information on testing, you can call 311 and get connected to the city's hotline, or you can go to boston.gov. On Tuesday, I announced Boston's extending its temporary pause on reopening for at least another 3 weeks until January 27th. The numbers have gone really high in the last couple of days since we've extended this. This is an effort to slow the spread and protect hospital capacity and avoid a more severe shutdown later. Lots of people are talking on Twitter that it hasn't started in my area. This isn't my industry. Our industry has nobody who has coronavirus. It's not about targeting specific sectors that's causing the virus. It's an effort to reduce the overall activity outside of people's homes. That's the intention of it. I want to say that one more time. We're doing it because we want to reduce the activity outside of your home. Our Office of Economic Development has been reaching out to different sectors to let them know about the extensions and answer any questions they might have. And also, we have supports in our economic office for small businesses. If you have not applied for it or you don't know what it is, go to boston.gov/reopening or call 311 and ask for small business, and we can help you with the industries on what we have available to help you. In another 3 weeks, we'll reevaluate the situation. If the metrics moved in the right direction, then we'll lift these restrictions. If the metrics get worse, we might be putting more restrictions in place, depending on how we look over the course of the next 3 weeks. We're hoping that we'll be lifting the restrictions, but we're taking a cautious approach and doing what's right in Boston to protect people of Boston and Bostonians. We need everyone's help in this. This week, the Massachusetts legislature finished their work, their session. I want to thank, in particular, the Boston delegation in the House and the Senate and all the legislators who worked hard to get bills passed at the end of session. This past year has been especially difficult as well for the legislature. But despite the setbacks, important work moved forward. Last night, despite the chaos, we saw Congress come back and finish their session, doing people's work and their solemn responsibility. It's one, as elected officials, that we take seriously, and all elected officials should take their job seriously. And in Boston and Massachusetts, we do the same. We share a commitment to doing the work the people elected us to do, and to work to improve everyone's life. In my 2019 State of the City speech, I outlined the City of Boston's legislative priorities. We proposed an ambitious agenda to address major challenges facing the city and the state. That included legislation to create more affordable housing, keep tenants in their homes, expand the middle class, protect the environment, and invest in education for all of our students. I'm proud to say that we achieved many of our goals working along with our partners. These pieces of legislation will have major impacts in many people's lives. That includes the Student Opportunity Act that was passed early in the session. It will direct much needed new resources to districts like Boston that educate the highest need students across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. A home rule petition on inclusionary development and linkage fees will leverage Boston's growth to create more opportunities on housing and job training for the residents of our city. Housing protections, including protections for tenants facing evictions, supports for small businesses, including a cap on third-party delivery fees to help restaurants during these difficult times. Restaurants have been asking for this for the last several months. Transportation investments, including increased fees on transportation network companies to help make rideshare part of a sustainable and more equitable system. Increase the state CPA match, which will raise the estimated $36 million in more revenue for the city, which will go towards affordable housing, open space, and historic preservation. A new firefighter cadet program will create a cadet program with the Boston Fire Department in efforts to help with the diversifying of the force. We have it in the police department. It's been in existence for a long time. It's a successful program giving young people the opportunity to get on the Boston Police Department. We are proud of what we've been able to accomplish despite a challenging time in our country with coronavirus and a person occupying the White House that is not focused on the American people. Again, I want to thank all of our partners on Beacon Hill. I want to thank all of them for their incredible work during this session. We are looking forward to filing some ambitious legislation for the 21-22 legislative session. I want to congratulate the members of the House and Senate that got sworn in yesterday. I want to give a special shout out in Boston to Representative Oakley and Representative Consalvo, who are sworn in for the first time as a member of the legislature from the Boston delegation. So congratulations to both of them. With that, I'll open up for questions.
In the days leading up to the inauguration and in light of what happened yesterday, is Boston making any kind of contingency plans or any kind of concern about any kind of protests here that may go on, especially around that time?
Yeah, no, I talked to the commissioner all day yesterday. He was in contact with other law enforcement around the Commonwealth. We're going to make sure that people are safe. We had no threats yesterday in Boston. We had a couple marches yesterday, but there was nothing, no violence, just a march. We're going to monitor the situation very closely in light of what happened yesterday in Washington. We did it before that anyway, but I'm not anticipating any type of violence in the city of Boston.
There's been a couple of efforts now or talk about trying to have the president removed from office either through impeachment or through the 25th Amendment. What do you think about that? Do you think that's something that should be done or can be done at this stage of the game?
I absolutely believe that the president should be removed from office of what his actions were yesterday. I would, if I were, I can't speak for Mike Pence, the vice president, but certainly I think the vice president was embarrassed yesterday. He has been a very loyal supporter of the president from the very beginning, and I think yesterday he finally saw the true colors of this man that's in the White House. And I think that I would encourage the vice president and the cabinet to act immediately. There's a little bit of a process that has to happen. I think rather than resign from the cabinet, step up and support America, and that's what I would encourage them to do.
The 25th Amendment, do you think?
Yes, he should be. I think he should be. I think that there should be a process right now they should be moving forward on. What he did yesterday, and there's plenty of Trump supporters in Massachusetts, in Boston. He went into the Capitol, the United States Capitol, a sacred place, the people's house. He encouraged people to commit violent acts. There was violence happening in the Capitol yesterday. There was people, they didn't go in that to make a statement, they went in to hurt people. And the president did not once come out and say, stop. He put that tweet video out there and told people he loved them. He loved them for going into the United States Capitol where people have died, put their life on the line. Our veterans from World War I, World War II, go back to the Revolutionary War, go back to the Civil War, the Vietnam War. Right now we have servicemen and women overseas fighting for democracy and helping other countries achieve democracy. The president just threw that out the window yesterday. The image of a person climbing up the flagpole and taking down the American flag and putting a Trump flag out. The Trump flag doesn't mean anything in this country. The American flag means everything in this country. You need to respect that flag. And the President of the United States yesterday did not do that.
Millions of people who do support President Trump, some who supported what happened yesterday. Do you think approaching the 25th Amendment, removing him from office, will only add to the divisive nature in the country?
You have to make decisions as elected officials, and that's a decision that the Vice President's going to have to make today, if he chooses. But again, you can't, as an American, many Republicans spoke last night. I don't know how many of you saw that. Strong Trump supporters, and they all condemned his actions yesterday. Most of them did. The country's bigger than the individual. And those people, the people that supported Trump, you need to understand the country's bigger than any one person.
Since yesterday, a lot of people in the black community have said this may have been far different outside the Capitol, had a different races involved. Have you thought about that? And what are your thoughts on what that could have been?
Yeah, I think that I was listening again last night. There was some congressmen, I believe Congressman Ryan is going to do an investigation of what happened yesterday, how it unfolded, how all around the whole situation around the White House. There's no question about that. Not the White House, excuse me, the Capitol. Again, I think that we talked about that in my office this morning. We talked about if there were black protesters or Muslim protesters, it would be a very different outcome. And I'd say the potential is probably yes for that, and probably would have been handled differently. I do think in my opening remarks here, as a country, we need to begin to start moving forward. We need to start to be resolving the conflicts in our country. We need to battle and deal with systemic racism. We need to battle with racism. We need to start talking and moving forward now. We're a country, in my opinion, that's very divided. 71 million people in this country voted for Donald Trump. 81 million, I believe, or 79 million voted for Joe Biden. So clearly we're a divided country, but we need to come together. We need to collectively all work together, elected officials from both sides of the aisle, from different backgrounds and different ideas, and people. We need to come together as a country. We're at a crossroads. I feel America's at a crossroads. And if we don't start to address the issues, and the question that you just asked me about thinking if it were black people or immigrants or Muslims, it would be handled differently than yesterday. We have to address this. We have to fix this country. We have to address those problems. And I'm hoping that we do. And I think that, it's not going to be one person that can do it, but we need to do it collectively. We have to. Yesterday when I reached out to the city council, actually, city council reached out to me and said we should probably do something collectively together, and I agreed. There was no question about whether there's a potential mayor's race next year going on, or there was, we disagree with you on something you vetoed the other day. None of that. That was within 2 minutes. Everyone's like, let's do it together. That's what this country has to do. We have to put aside our political differences and move this country forward in a positive manner.
The city of Boston, you guys have to deal with sort of large groups and events such as like that. After watching what happened, obviously there's a lot of criticism regarding security lapse in terms of having the proper security people in place to deal with the crowd as it approached the Capitol. What do you think? Do you think that the security was an issue as well beyond the issue of race, culture, etc.?
There's no question. I mean, the Capitol Police got overrun really quick. I mean, you could see that. There clearly wasn't. And who knows? I mean, I don't know exactly what the plan was. I don't know if they anticipated more people, fewer people. But you can see definitely the police were in danger as well yesterday. I mean, they got overrun. And people can make an assumption, well, those folks that overran the police are pro-police. No, the police were assaulted yesterday, too. So I think that, I think that yesterday was again, I don't want to say too much because I don't know the example, but from looking from my point of view, it was a breakdown.
Boston and other cities take a look at that and sort of evaluate what happened?
Yeah, we look at different situations all the time. I mean, I think that you just look in Boston when we had the protests back in the end of May, early June, that first night here in Boston, that hasn't happened in Boston since the 60s, if you will. With some of the violence that happened after the protest. That same incident hasn't happened in Boston. So you do learn, you do learn from that. And I think what was really scary yesterday was the Vice President of the United States of America was in the chamber of the United States Senate, the President of the Senate, the minority leadership in the Senate, you have the Speaker of the House, the minority leadership in the House of Representatives. Our democracy was all in that building yesterday. And the fact that people were able to rush that building like that, there's something to be said. But again, I'm sure our congressional delegation will be looking into it, and other congressional delegations will be looking into it. They've already said it last night that they're going to be looking into what happened yesterday.
Just to be clear, the city is not aware of any threats against Boston.
No, there's no threat. There's no threats against Boston. Yeah, and I don't anticipate any threats. But we're going to monitor it and watch the situation. But I don't anticipate any threats. Any other questions? No, it's just moving forward. Now, next Monday, I think it is, we start first responders. I think your paper had a story today with some people being vaccinated. I think I read it this morning. Seniors over 75, and some other folks, hospital personnel stuff. So that's this phase, and then next week we start next phase, and we're going to be moving on to the phases after that. No. When I can get vaccinated. I honestly feel that, my doctor will probably yell at me for saying this, but I'm not going to jump the line. I shouldn't jump the line. There's a process. We take care of the folks that take care of us in the hospitals, the doctors and nurses that provide medical care. The next step is seniors and people in long-term care facilities. They're the next in line. First responders who are out in the street. When it's my time, when we all can get vaccinated, I'll get vaccinated. And I will get vaccinated. And I want to do it. But I'm not going to take a vaccination away from somebody who is entitled to it before me.
One on Lowell this week, the Worcester one, they're all starting to fill up. What about the Boston Hope? Do you anticipate that will be something that will be open? You talked about how the hospital is starting to fill up.
Yeah. We're not there yet, but I'm going on a call today, so we're gonna. This is why we monitor the hospitals. We monitor everything closely, but we're going to monitor the hospitals. We monitor them every day, a couple times a day. Marty's on the call with them, Marty Martinez. But we're on a call later on today, so we're going to be talking to them. I don't know if you want to add anything to that. Do you anticipate them after, though? I hope not. But when you look at the numbers of 6,000 in the state yesterday, it's a big number. What'll happen now in the next couple of days, we'll see what the hospitalization from those positive tests are. That's really for the hospitals, that's the important number. What happens the next 3 to 4 days, if there's a need.
Inside track as to whether the vaccine pipeline is on track, because it was slowed down for a while, and do you anticipate that?
I think in the very beginning, I think at least in Massachusetts, I think there's, it's just, this is new, so we're trying to get vaccines out, something like we've never done like before. But I feel like this week we're on track, really moving forward. I'm just looking at mine to make sure I don't say something wrong. And I think that the fact that now we're planning ahead with the first responders next week, and I think now we're in a bit of a groove here. So hopefully, the more vaccines we get, we're talking with the state about other vaccination sites. Lots of people are tweeting at us saying you can use us, and I appreciate all the folks that are offering your sites. Thank you for that. But we will have more sites coming online as we get more vaccines to be able to get as much vaccination out the door into people's arms as possible. So Boston, the more we get, we'll be prepared for that. That's a good question. We're getting there. I can't give you an exact number. Like, if we get another, 600 people going to the hospital, it really depends upon. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on who's getting the virus. We still have the majority of the people getting the virus are under 39 years old. Many of them do not need hospitalization. But we are seeing hospitalization creep up. So the higher the number, the more severe. People that might have pre-existing conditions might get the virus, or asthma might get the virus, or other things. They're going to need hospitalization. So I'll have a better understanding next time we talk about this, because I'm going to ask some of those questions the hospitals today.
Put something back together. Does it have to be all put together again over there, or is there?
It's taken apart, but it's there. So we did it in 5 days. We built it in 5 days last time. So I would probably say we could build it in 3, maybe 2, because all the pieces are there. Now it's a puzzle. you can put it together. From the 5 days, when we build in 5 days, we built it from scratch. 2x4s and all kinds of equipment coming in there. Now it's there, so you just put it back together again. All right, everyone. Thank you.